What's considered the best loadout for medic? What could be so good that it's considered the stock? Reliable, powerful, consistent, versatile. Used by medic mains everywhere. The Crossbow and the Ubersaw. The medical meta. Crown of Medic's arsenal. So, what makes the Crossbow and the Ubersaw so powerful? Why is such a support-based loadout so popular? And is there truly no alternative? For the first year of Team Fortress 2's lifespan, the syringe gun was the only primary weapon available for the medic. It fired 10 damage syringes at 600 rounds per minute, with a mag size of 50. A year later, in 2008, the Bloodsucker was released. It had the same damage capabilities but allowed the user to gain rapid bursts of self-healing, at the cost of not being able to crit. This downside was later changed, lowering their user's passive health gain to 1 per second. Both the syringe gun and the Bloodsucker favored self-defense or slight offense, so when the Crusader's Crossbow came out, it was a game changer. At first glance, the Crusader's Crossbow is clearly far different from many of Medic's other primaries. It fires a crossbow bolt that heals teammates or damages enemies depending on who you hit. This weapon has a reverse damage fall off, meaning that it does more damage or heals more if you're further away from the target. On the same update in which the Bloodsucker was released, the Ubersaw also came out. It was the first unlockable medic melee weapon, and it had a huge upside. The Ubersaw grants 25% Uber for every successful hit you land on an enemy, allowing you to go from 0% to Uber charge in just 4 hits. However, this does not come without a downside. The Ubersaw swings 20% slower than any other medic melee weapon. With that out of the way, how does one use these weapons in TF2? The Crusader's Crossbow is crafted from Huntsman and Tooth scrap metal. It and the Ubersaw can also be crafted with a medic class token, a scrap metal, and a primary or melee token respectively. They can also be obtained through the random item drop system or trading. Alternating crossbow shots with their medic gun can output an extremely high amount of healing, as the Crusader's reloads without being held. It only does 38 to 75 damage to enemies with a reload time of 1.6 seconds, meaning that it has a low DPS and is a poor choice for defending oneself. However, where it fails its self-defense, it is a powerful supportive tool. Your job as a medic is to keep your teammates' HP bar above 0, not to be a frontline damage dealer, and while the ability to help yourself out of sticky situations is nice, that job is best left to your teammates. The Ubersaw features a risk-reward playstyle, making your attacks come out slower, but for every successful hit you get, gives you 25% Uber charge. Stock Uber charge is undoubtedly the most powerful thing in all of TF2, with only the other medigun's Uber charges coming even close. However, the downside of Uber charge is that it takes an extremely long amount of time to charge. 40 to 80 seconds of constant healing. This means that anything that makes it faster, whether it be the Boston Basher or the escape plan, is extremely helpful. But when you use the Ubersaw, you are able to boot up your Uber charge in mere seconds. And truth be told, most melee fights don't even require you to swing that fast, as most fights only last a few swings. Melee duels are about being able to land high damage blows, which is only made easier as the medic is notorious for getting random crits on his melees. When using the Crusader's Crossbow, one of the first things you will have to learn is when to use it, because just like any other medic's other primaries, the Crusader should not be out most of the time, assuming there is no other friendly medics nearby. A good tactic is to, while walking towards a teammate, shoot an arrow at them while they're out of medigun range, and then use your medigun to fill up their health bar and overheal them. Alternating your crossbow shots with your medi-beam can output an extremely high amount of healing. Use this trick when you need to heal a large amount of people in a short amount of time. And of course, taking pot shots down a choke point with the Crusaders is effective, as you'll be helping out your teammates no matter if you hit friend or foe. You might have begun to realize how good the Crusader's Crossbow is. Some may argue, too good, in fact. There's a reason it's considered the meta. Medic's other weapons simply don't have anything to compete with the burst healing potential of the Crossbow or the Uber gain of the Ubersaw. However, the issue is not in that these weapons are too overpowered, it's that the other weapons are extremely underwhelming. Comparing the Medic's meta to the meta weapons of other classes, you can see that their stats aren't super overpowered compared to other meta weapons. For example, the Boston Basher, which is a straight upgrade if you don't miss, and its downsides are situationally an upside as it grants you the ability to basically triple jump and help your medic build uber faster. Even with all these upsides, it's still considered a good tool rather than an overpowered weapon. You would still sometimes use Scout's other melees like the Atomize or a Fish, and the Crusaders would be quite a mediocre weapon choice on any other class. Not even the ability to heal teammates without dispensers would redeem it. Even as a secondary, a shotgun would be more viable in plenty of situations. So, what do we do instead? A solution is to buff the other medic primaries instead of nerfing the Crusaders, and buffing medic's other melees instead of nerfing the Ubersaw. A few of medic's other weapons are actually decently viable, such as the Overdose or Amputator. The Overdose being decently good at getting you places, and the need to heal a lot of teammates comes up more than you think. The Bloodsaga, surprisingly enough, is sometimes really good, as casual teams are about as good as protecting you as pool noodles. The Solemn Vow is a decent competitive weapon, as it's hard to get saws off in competitive, and being able to check enemy Uber actually matters. However, in casual mode, your team isn't usually coordinated enough to do much with the information you almost died getting. So, back to the point, how do we buff medic's other weapons? Well, decreasing the spread of the syringes and increasing their speed makes using syringes more skill-based and less like you are at the mercy of RNG. That should make the syringe guns much more viable, but what about the melees? Well, the Amputator could be better if the health gain was passive and you could stop the taunt whenever you hit G again, similar to the Kazatsky kick. As far as the Solemn Vow goes, I'd suggest a slight change in fidgeted damage resistance when active to allow you to see enemy health with less risk as long as your melee is out. As for the Vitasaw, just make it better at doing its job. Making other weapons more viable would certainly be more difficult for the almost non-existent TF team, but a weapon doesn't have to be overpowered to be considered the best. It just needs to be better than the others. The Medic, a support class, almost always a free kill on his own, but powerful with teammates. A majority of his primaries and melees are weak, but they're special. Crowd favorites of casual and competitive players alike. The Crusader's Crossbow and the Ubersaw. The medical meta. Skill-based. Supportive. Strong. And the best of their kind. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.